want to talk to you about the documents that are necessary for selling your business. Some of them you'll have to prepare, and some of them will be prepared by the buyer. Here's the list of documents you'll need to prepare. The full evaluation, also known as the Eval doc, the roadmap for enhancing value, the REV, confidential information memorandum, referred to as the SIM, confidential business profile, usually referred to as the teaser document, and the non-disclosure agreement, or NDA. Let's start with the first one, the full evaluation. This document is typically prepared for the owner's eyes only. It has several key components. First, it contains all the elements of your 9-year ramp, the credible, documented financial future that you're putting in front of buyers. Second, the evaluation contains a SWOT analysis. This analysis identifies your company's strengths and weaknesses, any opportunities for growth, and any threats that may exist to the business's growth or existence. Third, and perhaps most importantly, the evaluation should contain an estimate of your business's enterprise or economic value. The information in the evaluation is used by a savvy business owner to help decide what steps to take. For example, an owner could decide to take the company to market immediately based upon the information in the evaluation and on an assessment of current market conditions. Or the owner could decide to embark on a strategic growth plan to build value now and take that value out in the future. The last two documents on our list are documents that are typically prepared by the buyer. These are the letter of intent and definitive purchase agreement. At the appropriate time, an interested buyer will send in a letter of intent, or LOI. This document typically outlines the terms of the offer, establishes basic conditions, and is the primary tool used to create a competitive bidding structure with multiple interested buyers. Generally speaking, the LOI is non-binding, which means you can sign one and get out of it with no legal ramifications. Of course, while you may receive multiple LOIs, you can only countersign one at a time. The final document on our list is also the final document in the process, the definitive purchase agreement, also called the DPA. It's a very detailed description of all of the terms of the transaction and is basically a risk-shifting document. The various clauses of the DPA will determine whether the buyer takes on risk or the seller retains the risk. Much of the negotiation will take place around representations, warranties, and indemnifications. A representation is where one party states that something has happened or is happening. A warranty is where one party promises that something will happen. And an indemnification is where one side agrees to be financially liable to the other if the rep or warranty turns out to be false. The DPA is typically drafted by the buyer, which is good for sellers in two ways. First, it typically costs a lot less to have a document reviewed by an attorney than it does to have it produced. This saves the seller money and legal fees. Second, there is a legal concept that any ambiguity in a written document should be interpreted against the interests of the party that drafted the document. So, if after the deal is closed, the buyer and seller find themselves arguing about any ambiguous language in the DPA, the seller is usually protected by the courts. So that sums up a quick review of the 7 different kinds of documents an investment bank uses during a typical business sale. The next document we need to talk about is the confidential information memorandum, also referred to as the SIM or the book. This is the primary sales and marketing document used by a seller to solicit offers from buyers. The SIM is typically drafted in parallel with the evaluation because both documents contain a lot of the same information, like the 9-year ramp, the SWOT analysis, and company background. There are, however, 2 big differences between the evaluation and the confidential information memorandum. Number 1, the information memorandum typically does not include any enterprise or economic value. And number 2, any weaknesses identified in the evaluation are usually presented as opportunities for the right buyer in the SIM. Let's talk for a moment about the REV document, the roadmap for enhancing value, an additional document that Generational prepares for its clients that are considering going to the market. In the REV document, Generational identifies areas of potential risk and the amount of perceived risk in each of those areas. Since buyers value businesses based upon return on investment, which in turn varies based upon the perceived risk of the investment, the REV gives an owner the ability to enhance business value by lowering the risks buyers perceive. Generational is the only M&A advisory firm that I know of that produces such a document for its clients. Of course, it would not be possible to maintain any confidentiality if you sent out CIMs to every interested buyer. So the M&A industry has developed a better method. Typically, a 1 or 2 page teaser document is sent to all interested buyers, accompanied by a non-disclosure or confidentiality agreement. Only those buyers that are interested enough to sign the NDA actually receive a copy of the confidential information memorandum. This has 2 major positive effects for you as a seller. First, obviously, it helps to maintain deal confidentiality. And second, it forces buyers to self-identify themselves as being truly interested in moving forward with a potential purchase.